Alright, so today we're going to try out the anti-shake on my phone. Now I think that works by basically cutting off the edges and then moving the frame to compensate for the movement of your hand or whatever. But again, since I'm shooting at 1080p and you're ultimately going to see it at 720p, it's going to be downsampled no matter what, so it's kind of like free leeway right there. But anyways, today's the day to try and make this look good. So I've got some of this 2-part wood filler, which better be good because I paid a lot of money for it, that I'm going to put along these edges and stuff. Pretty much anywhere there's a cut edge on the plywood. So I'm going to put that all around, and then I've got some primer and some truck bed liner. And we're going to see if truck bed liner is the real kind of silver bullet for DIY enclosures that it's kind of made out to be. So I'm outside now, obviously, and I've got the orbital sander with some really rough grit sandpaper in there. And what I'm going to do is go around and knock down any strong edges, like this one right here. Like that's pretty bad. If this isn't all pretty much flush, then the amp plate is going to leak. So I'm just going to go around and make sure everything's even. Like it's a little strong over here too. And then I'm going to do the opposite basically and build up where it's shy, like right here, with the 2-part wood filler. And then I'm going to sand it all really finely so I can start priming. While I'm out here doing painting stuff, I'm going to paint these little boxes black. They've had a lot of attempts at finishes on them, including black paint, some cheesy vinyl veneer, but this time I'm going to do it right. It's going to be glossy black with veneer just on the top. It's inspired by a Legacy Audio subwoofer that was always on the catalogs that I check out when I was a kid, and they'll be reversible. Since these are all just kind of symmetrical, there's no definite top or bottom. I can put the veneer on the bottom so it looks all black, or flip it around. So I just went over the whole thing with low grit sandpaper and then wiped them down. I'll let them dry off and then do it with a finer grit, and then I'm going to start priming. Alright, so it's the next morning, and I put several coats of primer and a couple of coats of paint on these. They're sanded, and then I wiped them. Now they're drying. So I'm about to put probably 2 more coats of black on these. They don't look great, but what are you gonna do? Over here I have the results of the wood filler. This one I've already sanded, this side. And so that seems to have gone pretty well. Looks like it's doing its job. It sanded down pretty nicely, but it didn't just crumble like normal wood filler. Here's a side I haven't sanded yet. that's just a piece of wood I have taped to it, so this doesn't hit the ground like the other side is currently doing. But now it's time to sand down this side. So this is all sanded and ready to go. I just wiped it down and now it's drying. That only takes a few minutes. You don't want to paint over a wet surface, I'm guessing. But anyways, obviously I've got it hanging up here on the basketball hoop, which I just lowered. So this way I can hit all the sides at once. So like I don't have to lay it on one side and then get that one side later. I can do the entire surface area of it in each coat. Moving target thing might be a problem, but I think I'll manage. I was lucky to get a full coat of primer on there. This is pretty much gone. But since it's truck bed liner going on, the priming process I'm sure isn't critical. So now I'm going to paint it black ahead of hitting it with truck bed liner. I'll probably only do one coat, maybe two. It is gloss black. Ideally it would probably be flat black, but it'll be fine. So we're back to working on the grill cloth. It's really a little lopsided, but I'm not that bothered. So I've used a square to make a line across there that's about 1/4 inch in, and then each of these lines is 1.5 inches from the side. So I need to cut this area out to make clearance for the driver, because this interferes with the frame of the driver when you try to put it on. So my plan is to use a drill press to put holes there, and then I'll use the jigsaw to kind of cut up to the edge of that hole, and then across, and then back down. So that should give me a nice cutout with round edges. Then the vertical supports I can put about there, so they don't interfere with anything. I'm actually going to do this part here with this knife. Much more control. So there it is. I ended up doing it all with this thing instead of the power jigsaw. Now I just gotta sand it down a little bit and then vacuum. So here's my setup for gluing this all together. I've marked off 1/2 inch in from each side on these parts. These paint stirrers will keep the top-down supports uniformly above the bench, which when this is put into the cabinet will represent the front baffle of the cabinet. And then I've got a T-square to hold it all square, and then I'll clamp it together. So that's how it's going to fit on the sub. It won't be touching like this. It'll be raised up at least 1/8 of an inch off the sub, but it's really not touching anywhere that's moving. It's at the very, well, it's not touching it at all, but it's not above anything that's moving. So that should work pretty well. Won't come across any of the screws or anything. It's looking good. It's not quite dry, so I'm not going to mess with it too much yet. But before I start on the truck bed liner, I'm going to see how it fits on the actual box, and if it's not flush, I'll take a really tough grit to the four corners that actually make contact with the box. And for now I'm just going to kind of stick it in there. I'm sure the grill cloth will hold it in place. Eventually I'll probably put some neodymium magnets in there or something, but now I'm just waiting for the second coat of black on the box to dry, and I'm waiting for these over here to stop being tacky. Wow, you can't see that at all. Wow. There you go. These didn't come out that great, but it's okay. I'm okay with it. I'm not too butthurt. There's the side that the final's going on. So the grill piece didn't fit in the enclosure, which I suspected might happen, so I'm going to make a kerf cut on the table saw very carefully. Now I'm going to sand it again and then shoot it black. Now it's time for the truck bed liner. So these are just about done. This cabinet I'm prepping to put the driver back in with spades this time instead of solder. Even though this is probably actually the finally last time I'm going to open these up, but whatever. Now I got to do the same for the terminal cup on the back, and then I'm just going to put the one piece of veneer up top. Now I'm just putting some gasket on there. Don't like to have it sit on its surround for too long, so gotta do that quick. the sub is finished, and I've just got this temporarily set up. I'm not going to use this amp in the final project. I've got a little amp module that kind of matches the whole tiny aesthetic pretty well. These are the satellites, or what will become the satellites. They're self-contained Tang band speaker modules that actually have a passive radiator. So these go a lot lower than most little speakers this size, which will allow them to integrate better with the sub, because some of the low end will actually be coming from right on your desk, and it should make the sub sound like almost like it's not even there, because all the low end will appear to be coming from here. Common problem in systems like this is too much high end, so to speak, or low mid comes through the subwoofer, and it makes the subwoofer sound kind of goofy. Really not a subwoofer at all. Anyways, right now I have 320 microfarad caps in series, which should be giving me a crossover point with these 4 ohm drivers at about 120 Hertz, but the slope isn't steep enough. They're still trying to reproduce sound that's way too low out of the pass band, and it's affecting the treble, you may have noticed. So I'll be looking into getting some second order filters going, which is tricky because it requires fairly high value inductor, but I'll figure it out. I also finished these, they're looking alright. Tune in next time and I'll be making some little cube enclosures for these to go in. They don't need it as far as sound goes, being self-contained already, as I mentioned, but it'll make them aesthetically cooler.